Hi everyone. Here's Rosie I'm Rosie from the Brook Wellness Center, and this is my friend Marietta. And today we're going to talk a little bit about overdose prevention, and because it's our overdose prevention month in January. And so I've invited my friend Marietta here to come and talk to us about a little bit about what she does and how we can prevent some overdoses a bit more, what we can do if somebody overdoses. So this is Marietta. So hi Marietta, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So we just got done with a Narcan training, and it was marvelous. It was fantastic.
It was. We had a lot of people online.
I know, from Kansas.
Yeah.
I mean,
police officers.
Children Division. There's health department.
Yeah.
Yes, it was awesome. So tell us a little bit about what goes on in this Narcan training.
So this was the extended version. This goes into talking about some of the data for our regional area to kind of understand how serious the issue is in our area. We talk a little bit about addiction as a brain disease so that people can understand why people do maybe what they do. We talk about the laws that are related to Narcan, and then we go into how to identify an opioid overdose, and then how to react to it, how to actually save someone's life with Narcan.
Right, and we've got Narcan here today. Mr. Bear, yes. Mr. Brook Bear is holding on to the Narcan today, and we can show you a little bit about that here in a second. But one of the things from the training that really alarmed me was the amount, like the data. So can you remember some off the top of your head, like some of the data?
So I know one of the slides that we had up there, and our data is delayed, like I mentioned during the training, because it takes so long. But one of the slides that I shared was there were 1,100 opioid overdose deaths in the state of Missouri in 2018. And so that number has gone up every year. Let's see, another one was related to babies that are born with neonatal abstinence syndrome, and it was saying that 8 out of every 1,000, and that was back in 2016, so that number is surely higher now. So yeah, there's some really, the data that's being tracked is showing some really alarming trends.
Wow. And that's just up to like 2018, you said?
Yeah, some is a little more current, some is not.
Right.
It just depends on the agency that's collecting it and where they're sharing it out at.
And it's amazing because it hasn't really hit the COVID time. Like it was, some of them was 2018,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
2018.
Yeah.
It wasn't even really the COVID time, which that we already know it's gone up.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The potential numbers that came out of the CDC the last year was 107,000 deaths total for the nation. So
wow.
It definitely drove it up because we were at almost 90,000 the year before.
Yes.
So it drove it up significantly during COVID.
Right. And so one of the things that, the reason I like about the Narcan training is that, people think, well, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, and I'm thinking, this is for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So what have you found when you do this Narcan training? Do people, are they surprised, like anybody can administer this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you think about it, administering a medication, you think that you have to be skilled and trained and things, but they've made the application of it so easy, the nasal application of it, that anybody can do it. And it's really something that anybody can be taught. You don't have to have any specialized education or training except for a Narcan training.
Right. So we've got some over here. I'm just going to go ahead and open this. And Marietta, you've got, explain this a little bit about how many doses in that is come in that box.
So you get 2 doses in a box.
Okay.
And this is the nasal version of the medication. Okay. So the medication inside this is called naloxone. That's the generic name. The manufacturer of this called this brand Narcan, but a lot of people just call Narcan everything. Right. So there's a liquid inside this plunger, and what you would do if you find somebody that's experiencing an overdose and you've identified the signs of an overdose, you would peel this back and remove the plunger. You would put your fingers on either side of it. You would insert it into their nose until your fingers touch the bottom of their nose, and then you would quickly depress it. Because it is liquid in this, and so you want to get it up into their nasal passages so it can be absorbed.
So I'm just thinking about, if here I am, just walking down the street, I'm at my friend's party and things like that, and I see somebody kind of unresponsive, okay? A lot of people think, well, what if I apply, like I administer the Narcan and they have a heart attack? Is that possible?
So the great thing, the amazing thing about this medication is that it's only designed to do one thing. It's only designed to remove opioids off of opioid receptors and take its place.
Right.
So if that person doesn't have any opioids in their system, it's not going to do anything to them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's specifically designed. So
Right.
it's a very safe medication to carry and to administer, and it's only going to work if the person has opioids in their body.
Right. Now, kind of a little birdie kind of said that maybe you had a little bit of an incident with Narcan. So what happened to you, Miss Marietta?
So I was at the beginning of COVID when we'd just been moved to working home, and I was giving my first online Narcan training.
Okay.
And I was nervous because I had not used Zoom very much, and I was concentrating on giving a good training and making sure the technology worked. And I guess I wasn't paying very good attention because I had a version of naloxone.
Okay.
It's actually called Evzio. The brand is Evzio instead of Narcan, but that one is an injectable version.
Okay.
It's a really cool version because it talks to you, and I like to demonstrate it because it's
Right.
kind of neat. So I must have accidentally picked up the real version of the Evzio instead of the tester. And didn't notice it until I actually injected myself with the Narcan, or excuse me, the Evzio. So
did you have a reaction?
I did not, other than my heart probably started beating a little bit because I was shocked and nervous.
No, because of the Narcan.
Exactly.
But because of
goodness, oh my goodness, I just injected myself with Narcan or naloxone. But no, other than that, because I did not have any opioids in my body, it did not do anything to me. So I can speak, unfortunately, from experience that it is a safe medication, at least for me. There were no negative consequences other than a little bit of a panic attack after the Zoom was over. I was a little bit embarrassed, but I found it's a good teaching point because there's other people who have almost done the same thing.
So you're in good company.
I am in good company. Yeah. So
that's amazing. See, hey, at least you've learned, and you can attest that it's not going to hurt you.
Yes.
Okay,
I feel very comfortable. I carry it in my purse. I'm not worried about leaving my purse around. You know, if a kid were getting a hold of it, or a pet or something like that.
Right.
Unless someone has opioids in their system, it does not do anything to it. And that's the miracle of this drug, is it's specifically designed for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I hear that there's a lot more of Narcan in hospitals now, in like ambulances, like anybody can carry it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So in the state of Missouri, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2016, the state of Missouri has a standing order where anybody in Missouri can have and administer Narcan. It's called a standing order, and basically it's like a prescription for everybody. So before you'd have to go to your doctor and get a prescription for it and take it to the pharmacy. Well, now you don't have to do that. Now you can just go to the pharmacy and say, hey, I want to buy Narcan or naloxone or Evzio, whatever we want. Now I will say it is expensive. So
how much would that cost?
So one box of this can range anywhere from $100 to $150.
Okay.
Thankfully, there's grants out there, and our partners at Missouri Institute for Mental Health have acquired grants that allow me to get Narcan from them and then to distribute it into the community.
And I appreciate it because you've given us lots of Narcan as well, so I appreciate that. So basically, if anybody is out there and thinking, you know, my brother may overdose, or I know my brother's, you know, opiate user or something, it's always great to have, I believe, right? I mean, it's just, so here's what I want to, for maybe somebody that's watching going, yeah, but how do I know somebody's overdosing? You know, I mean, isn't there like 3 points that there is?
Yeah. So there's 3 key things you want to look for to identify an opioid overdose. The first one is, are they responding? Are they awake? Are they conscious? So if you've come upon someone and they're passed out and you shake them on the shoulder and you're like, hey, Rosie, are you okay? You can do something called a sternum rub, which is supposed to be kind of painful so that it would stimulate them. If they're not responding to that, they're pretty unconscious, right?
Okay.
So that's the first thing. Second thing is, are they breathing? And are they breathing effectively? So maybe they're not breathing, but they may also be choking or gurgling, or they may be breathing so slowly that it's not getting their brain enough oxygen. So typically we breathe once every 7 seconds. If someone's breathing once every 30 seconds or once every 2 minutes, that's not enough to keep their brain fed with oxygen.
God. So their heart is still going.
Yes, because what opioids do is they slow down your body, they slow down your breathing, your digestion. So basically your body forgets to breathe. And if you're not breathing, you're not taking in oxygen. So your heart's still pumping and it's pumping blood all around, but that that blood doesn't have oxygen in it, so your brain is dying from lack of oxygen. The third key thing to look for are pinpoint pupils. So depressants like opioids, they make your pupils very, very, very tiny, very small.
Right.
Where other substances like stimulants, meth or cocaine, they make your pupils huge.
Right.
So if you have those three things all together, someone who's not responsive, they're either not breathing or they're really having trouble breathing, and their pupils are pinpoint, it's pretty indicative of an opioid overdose.
And like you said, even if you administer it and they're not overdosing, they got something else,
then you're not going to hurt them.
And you can attest to that.
Yeah, I can. Yes, that's true. But I would generally go ahead and give it to someone. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know we can't say, because obviously it's age 18 and over, but me personally, if I'm seeing a child that's overdosing, I'm gonna give him the Narcan. That's just
me
my
personally.
opinion.
I would too,
but of course,
I know it's a safe.
We can't tell everybody to do it because he's over 18,
yeah,
right?
But
but you know, if it doesn't harm the adult, the likelihood is not going to hurt the teenager or whatever.
And the alternative to me is they could die of an overdose.
Exactly.
And so it really
exactly.
And it works on pets too. We actually have canine units that carry Narcan for their dogs in case they overdose. So
wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. That was actually the first reason that I was able to get Narcan distributed in our community. Was I worked with the police department to get their canine officers and their vice officers.
Oh wow.
And that was the very first thing that I learned, was it works on animals too.
Okay, we know that. Yeah. Maybe we should try it on a bird. I don't know. But so that's amazing. So those are the three things. So really, if you see somebody with those three things, can you repeat those three things again?
So unconscious or non-responsive, trouble breathing or not breathing.
Okay.
So less than every 7 seconds, or they're choking, or they're not breathing at all, and then pinpoint pupils.
Okay.
Those three things together.
So
pretty sure.
So walk me through this. So Marietta, I come across somebody who's not responsive. They're not breathing, and they got this little pinpoint. Whatever. What do I do next? Do I call 911 first? Do I administer Narcan? What do I do?
So in my opinion, you don't know how long that person's been unconscious, not breathing. So their brain could be very deprived of oxygen. First thing I would do would be give them 2 deep rescue breaths.
No compression.
No, because if you know that they have a pulse and they're not breathing, you don't want to do the compressions. You want to give the deep rescue breath. So a deep rescue breath is 1 deep breath every 7 seconds. So you do 2 of those. Then I would either yell for somebody to call 911, or I'd call 911 myself. That's the second step, because you really want to get help on the way. And then you administer the Narcan.
Got it.
Now, Narcan takes about 3 to 5 minutes to work.
Okay.
So while you're waiting for it to work is a great time to give them 30 rescue breaths.
Right.
Every 7 seconds, 30 times. If they haven't started to come around by the end of those rescue breaths, give them another dose.
Right. So there's 2 in the box, correct?
Yep, kits usually come with 2.
Okay, so I've heard that some people, I mean, we've got, as you know, we're an intensive outpatient treatment center here,
right.
And we've got people here that said, man, I had to have 7 or 8 and 9 and 10. We've heard 17 for one person, okay? And we're like, 17,
that's
like,
a lot.
ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So is that a common thing?
I wouldn't say common, but is becoming more common to have more than 1 dose. So before, when it was just heroin in the supply, typically 1 dose or 2 doses could do the trick.
Mm-hmm.
But now that fentanyl is the majority of what's in the supply, that is a much stronger opioid, and it may take multiple doses of Narcan to reverse the effects of fentanyl. So we have been hearing instances where people are being administered 4 and 5 and 6 doses of Narcan. But again, if you only have 2, give them the 2, but keep rescue breathing until help gets there.
Because hopefully 911 will arrive.
They will have it.
And you're like, they're gonna have it.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of that. They have the Narcan right there in the ambulance and all. So that's fantastic. So Marian, again, having, sometimes you have a little bit of sometimes people maybe don't understand some things, and this is why we have this little chat like this. Mm-hmm. Some people say, well, if you have somebody, okay, that's an opioid user, why would you give them Narcan? Okay, it's like you're going to encourage them to see where you get to the overdose, because there is that thought as well. Okay, yes. So
So I'm going to speak from two different
Yes,
lenses.
please.
First is research. They have
Yes.
done research in communities where they have dispersed Narcan, and it has not been proven to enable use or encourage use. It actually encourages people to seek help. So that's the research part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking from a personal standpoint, it's a person. And to me,
Exactly.
I want to save their life.
Absolutely.
I don't care if it's the first time or the 15th time I'm administering Narcan. That person has a right to live. They are of value to me because they're a person and I love them as God loves them, right?
Amen. Amen.
And it's also going to be somebody's daughter or somebody's husband, and they deserve that other chance. Sometimes it takes multiple administrations to get somebody to the point where they're ready to seek recovery. And we are just giving them another opportunity to find recovery.
Absolutely.
And it just, to me personally, I see no other option.
Right, because the other option is death. Right. And a lot of people that overdose, I mean, we get these kind of data as well because one of our board members, Ruth, she works at Mercy, and she said they're getting younger and younger because she works at the ER trauma center. They're getting younger and younger, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, in the 21, 22. You're like, oh my goodness, they're getting younger and younger, and it's so sad. And it's like, why wouldn't you give somebody a Narcan? Well, some people will say, well, then they come out of the overdose and they go and try it again.
Which may be true.
But exactly.
That's okay with me.
It's okay with me
They're
too.
alive. They're breathing.
Amen.
If they're not breathing, they can't find recovery.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
My hope is that everybody has that opportunity to make that decision to find recovery.
Exactly. The other one is, because we're talking about overdose prevention, it's not just Narcan, but another one is these needle exchanges, right? Again, people will say, well, if you give them needles, clean needles, then they're going to keep using. You just encourage them to use.
No. I fully disagrey with that.
Me
Again,
too.
I'm going to speak from two lenses. One, research lens. There is so much research and data that proves that sterile syringe services actually increase the opportunity for somebody to find treatment by 5 times. So it is very impactful because you're not just giving them a clean needle. You are also giving them other resources. You're building a relationship. You're encouraging trust, and then they come back to you and seek treatment. The other thing that it also helps with is the spread of HIV and hepatitis C and all of these issues, endocarditis and skin lesions from using dirty needles. There are so many health benefits and money benefits that would reduce the burden on the hospitals by using clean needles. So that's the political version, right? Personally,
yes. Again, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Why would I want someone to do anything that could make it more negative?
Yes.
Right? So that's what harm reduction is
Exactly.
about. People are going to use drugs for lots of reasons. Sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's just want to.
Right.
Why should we not make it as safe as possible for them?
Absolutely.
So I would give someone a clean needle, even if they chose to use it for drugs, because it's going to save them and offer them the opportunity to do it in the most safe way. I would educate them on how to use it more safely, that they should use with someone else with them, that they should sterilize, all those great things about harm reduction that reduce the chances of them having negative outcomes.
Absolutely. And then the chance to be able to share with them, look, when you're ready for help.
Yes.
When you're ready for help, there's this center or this treatment or this whatever, it doesn't have to be here. It's just anywhere you are. Just when you're ready for help, there is help out there for you.
Yeah.
It's like, I always think when somebody's got diabetes, cancer, whatever, and you go, well, I can't believe they come back here for treatment again. You're like, it's the same.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense,
That's
and something that you said, part of the training, which is something we absolutely say to them all the time. We don't call people addicts. It's a person with a substance use disorder.
Yes.
Right? It's like a person, and you don't go around and say, hi, I'm Marietta and I'm a diabetic.
Right.
I mean, I've got blood pressure, high blood pressure. You just, hey, I'm a person who's struggling with alcohol or something.
Exactly.
So, I mean, have you seen that a lot, the stigma? Is it changing? Is it beginning to change yet?
So I think we still have a long way to go, but I think there is good work out there being done. There are, even at the national level, there are efforts to change the way we talk about substance use disorder and to encourage person-centered language. I just read a story the other day that they are trying to work through Congress to pass a change in the name for substance abuse and mental health, to take that abuse out of there. So that has to do with person-centered language. So the media is becoming more aware of using person-centered language. I think that it has gotten better in our region in the last couple of years, but we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Because it's just been ingrained in our brains. I mean, that's what we hear on media. That's how, it's been acceptable to address people in the past. And so it's going to take a long time to change. But I think there's several out there that are making an effort.
It's getting there. I've seen, like yesterday, for example, Color 10 came and wanted to do a report on us. Or like, well, what are you doing? Well, we're going to be doing Narcan training, whatever. And the fact that they took an actual interest in, like, well, we're just wanting to save lives, and because of that as well, and all the advertisement, hey, we're going to be doing a Narcan training. We had the biggest training tonight.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, actually, and it was awesome to hear people, the feedback saying, oh, wow, I mean, they were engaged. It was wonderful. Yeah. So how long have you been doing the Narcan training now?
Oh, wow. So I've been in this role for 6 years, and it was 2 years after I started that I got trained as a Narcan trainer. So 4 years I've been training in Southwest Missouri.
So how many people do you think you've trained?
So I know that I've trained over 500 because I count every person that I send training. So that's in person. If they watch a video or something like that, I can't watch that. But I've trained over 500 people in Stone and Taney counties, and that includes a majority of our law enforcement and first responders.
That is awesome.
I am super proud of that.
I am so, oh my goodness, that is so wonderful. That, again, more and more people are saying, oh, can I take this? Can I carry this? So do you advise this to be carried in the car?
So it needs to be carried in a place where it's not exposed to extreme heat or extreme cold for long amounts of time, and also out of direct sunlight. So I wouldn't put it like in your glove box and just leave it in there all hot summer or cold winter. I typically carry it like in my backpack or my purse that I know I'm going to take out of it. If it's in there for an hour or so, it's not going to ruin it, but it will decrease the effectiveness over time. It has a 3-year expiration date, but as long as you keep it out of direct sunlight and out of extreme temperatures, it's been proven to be good up to 96 months. So
that's like 8 years.
That's 8 years. I think.
Wow, 8 years.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. That how strong this medication really is for 8 years.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I love knowing that we have this, and so you're saying that if we have, like, they can go to the pharmacy. But of course it costs money, but they can go to different agencies, like we have them here. But so if somebody wants to reach out and say, hey, but I'm all the way in Kansas City, that we had one tonight, would you be able to send this to them?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to get Narcan actually now. So we do have community distribution sites like you guys, the health department, actually some of our law enforcement are distributing it. We also have an email address at the state level that people can email and request Narcan in the state of Missouri. Can you tell us that email? Yeah. It's NOMO deaths.
I like that.
No mo deaths.
That sounds like a Steve Harvey quote. That's how he would talk. No mo deaths.
No mo deaths at MI, M as in Mary, I as in Igloo, MH, M as in Mary, H as in Harry, so MIMH, it stands for Missouri Institute of Mental Health.
Okay.
So no mo deaths at MIMH.edu.
EDU for education.
Because it's a university.
Of
So
course.
Anyone in the state of Missouri, if they don't have a way to get Narcan in their
questions,
town, they can email and request it.
So nobody will ask questions why you're getting the Narcan?
No, not those kind of questions. If you're asking for like 50 doses, they're going to want to know what agency you're with, what you're going to do with them. But if you're just asking to have it, no.
Okay,
and it's totally free, and they usually just mail it to you. So, but there's a lot of options. Typically, recovery community centers. If you have one of those in your community, we have one in Stone County. We have two in Greene County. Those have Narcan to distribute. So there's lots of options.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody who has a family member that's really struggling? They have no idea what to do, and they go, well, I don't know if this is going to work because I don't know if it's heroin, if it's fentanyl, if it's meth, will this work on meth? Because they may not know.
That's true. So this is not designed to work on any substance other than opioids. Now,
opioids are like what? Give us an example.
So like hydrocodone, fentanyl, morphine, heroin. Those are typical.
Okay.
One thing that has a new trend, let's say that way, a new trend is that substances have more in them than what you think.
Oh, yes.
So meth is being contaminated with opioids, or cocaine is being introduced with opioids. So if you give a person who uses meth that has opioids in it, they are likely to overdose because their body's not used to opioids. So they may think their loved one is only using meth, but they may have opioids in the meth. And so it's not designed to reverse the effects of meth, but it will it will reverse the effects of the opioids that are in their system.
Right. Yeah. And again, help, right? Helping the loved one. So even if you don't know, you don't have to be a doctor and nurse. You don't have to have all these degrees and that. All you have to know is, hey, if they're overdosing, I see them unresponsive and that, I'm going to use this. And hey, if they come back, I'm thinking, okay, at least, you know what I mean? Give them a chance, call 911, get help. Yeah. So that's really cool.
And that's what I would ask or say to a loved one. I think in that situation, it's really important to remember to encourage them to use words that are not going to cause them shame, not going to make them feel bad for what happened, but instead encourage them, show them compassion, show them that you love them and that you want them to get help. Yeah. Because from what I've learned from talking with people in recovery is they already hate themselves in that moment a lot of the times, and making them feel worse about themselves is not encouraging to them. So for family members, I know it gets hard, and to be frustrated with someone is understandable, but just knowing that talking to them in a positive way will have a better impact on them than it would be to, insult them or make them feel shameful.
Maria, we've had kind of the similar kind of upbringing in the sense that we weren't in drugs. We weren't doing drugs or alcohol, things like that. So sometimes we were ignorant of that. It's really naive, until I got into this what I do today, like you had experience, we don't know. So I'm thinking about all those loved ones that are out there and they go, I have no clue, because that was me. I had no clue. And they go, oh, just stop. I would say, just stop, right? You're smoking cigarettes, stop. Sure. You're doing meth, stop. Because you don't know, you have no understanding, until you get in here. So you had a story about, you said your dad. Was that your dad?
Yeah.
So what was that experience like for you?
So I was a teenager at the time, and my dad had hurt his back pretty badly, and his doctor gave him codeine with Furanol, which is an opioid.
Yes.
And he became dependent on it, tolerant. He would start using them, misusing them, because he would take more than he was supposed to. And there are many months in my teenage years that I can remember by the end of the month, he would run out of his medication. And at the time, I didn't know it, but what would happen is he would go into withdrawals. Yeah. And he would be so sick for a long time. And we would end up taking him to the ER, or we would call the ambulance to come to the house. And it was excruciating to watch him go through that, because it was horrible. It was vomiting, diarrhea, cramping, moaning in pain. And to see your loved one go through that is a horrible thing. So the experience was that he eventually found treatment through a provider that identified that he had opioid use disorder and got him on methadone. And that gave him a better quality of life for the last 2 years of his life. But yeah, it was really difficult to see somebody you love go through that. Yes. Especially when you don't understand it. Now, in this role, I have learned so much that has helped me process that trauma and to understand why he would use, why he ran up their debt and spent all of his settlement money and left us in $400,000 worth of, credit card debt. It made more sense now because I know that was the driving factor. But when I was 17, I didn't know that. No. And I couldn't understand why those things were happening, and I know my brothers struggled with it too. So
absolutely,
my mom too. But
the family suffers.
Oh yeah.
So I remember I have this story. Like Stan is my husband. He's a clinical director here at the Brook Wellness Center. But so 2012, he has to have a major surgery in his back. I'm talking 360 fusion. That's a huge one. Yeah. Wow. So they cut you at the front and the back, okay, and they literally reconstruct your back. It's like a scaffolding. It's got a load of titanium inside his body, right? But he had no choice. He had to do that. So at the time, okay, prior to the surgery, okay, he was in a lot of pain. This is 2012 in Texas. They gave him a hydrocodone. Okay?
I know, the bottles were like this big, right? I remember the hydrocodone.
Yes. Oh. And we're like, oh my, see, again, I didn't know, they're pain pills, right? He's like, yeah, pain pills, right? hydrocodone. He had Halcyon to go to sleep as well. He had Percocet. But wait, he also had fentanyl patches.
Woo!
So one day I come home from my work and I'm watching. He's sitting down and he's like this, and I'm like, what's going on? Totally disorientated. He doesn't know what. And he go, what? And he's all like this. I'm going, what is wrong with you? What is wrong? Is nothing wrong with, like, he sounded like a drunk. And I thought, I don't know what's wrong with you. And he go, you're over medicating yourself. No, I'm not. And he's like, and he goes aggressive. He's looking at. He goes, I'm taking it exactly as the doctor's prescribing. Yeah, he was over medicated. So he goes, look, I'll show you. He rips the fentanyl patch. Within 2 hours, Marietta, we were in the ICU. He was fighting for his life. He stayed in the ICU for 10 days.
Wow.
And what I watched that man go through with the withdrawal of the opiates. Look, he was on meth and cocaine when he was younger. But like opiates, I have never experienced anything like. And again, it's like as a loved one, you're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even touch his body. You touched his body because don't touch. His body was on fire. He said he was throwing up, diarrhea. He said it's like the flu on steroids. Okay, and watching him that, so I can understand loved ones and they go, I have no clue what to do, you know, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So after that, he had to actually go into a rehab center, an actual inpatient medical, because, and then he was put on Suboxone for a whole year and they had to titrate him down and he still would have withdrawals, you know. So as a loved one, not knowing, because we weren't in this year in 2012, I had no clue.
Yeah.
But the bottles are this big.
Right.
And he's just popping them. And here's the problem. Because he didn't know how much he'd taken, because he's so like this, I don't think I've taken it. Here, let me take
Right.
And you over-medicate.
My dad would do that too.
See?
Yes. And that's what happens a lot of times with elderly people is they'll forget. They'll take
Yes.
their second pill. So you don't have to be a person with a substance use
No.
disorder to overdose. You could be an older person who forgot their medication and take an extra
Yes.
dose and suddenly you're overdosing.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
And I'm thinking of elderly people maybe with Alzheimer's. You can't
Yeah.
leave them alone. They go, I don't think I took it. And they've taken 6 in the space of an hour,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's scary, really scary to think about how much. I'm glad now they don't give the big old head.
Yeah.
I believe now for surgery they give you like 3 days worth of pills and that is it.
Most providers are much more conscious
Oh, yes.
now that they know the impacts and the risks. They are much more conscious about how much they give.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm so glad that we're able to have this. We can talk to people, we can educate them. We can, because like I said, we needed education,
Yeah.
right? As a family member.
Exactly, and it may have been available, but we didn't know about it.
Didn't know.
And now I feel like there's a lot of family
Yes.
support available and a lot of family education available, but is it getting to the people that need to know about it?
Right.
And a lot of times no, because the stigma is keeping them from seeking help because they are ashamed of their loved one or they
Yes.
are ashamed of, you know, what's going on in their family and they don't want anybody to know about that. So they're not seeking out resources because they're
Right.
afraid of what people are going to think about them. So I feel like that's the barrier is how can we get the information to families that need it?
Yes.
Because it's out there.
Yes.
And there's lots of support, but if they don't know about it,
Right.
just like we didn't,
Yes.
it would have
So
helped
we-
a lot.
Very much,
Yeah.
because I didn't. I'm like, I don't understand,
No.
you know. So we're gonna have soon here in the next 6 months or so. We're gonna have a family workshop because we've done it in the past before COVID, like
Yeah.
everything, right?
Right.
Then we had to stop, but we're gonna have a family workshop because I think again, education, and so if once we set the date or so, I would love for you to come in and just share a little, even with your dad's story, because we have to share stories about our loved ones, you know, because they need to know, hey, we're not just teaching you that, we've experienced this. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do, you didn't know what to do,
Yeah.
you know, and now that we have the knowledge, you know, you
share
look
it
back
with
and you're
others.
like, oh, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, but you're saying, I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know why they,
Right.
you know, and you almost, like you said, you feel ashamed of them
Mhm.
because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want people to know
Right.
that they, you know, the pill poppers as they call it, right? Or something. I see that name wasn't around at the time.
Well, and a lot of times I can remember his behavior because of the medication was not the best. So he would go to a basketball game and make a scene with the referee and something like this. And it wasn't him, it was the medication. And so those are things that
Yes.
help to like reinforce that stigma is because a lot of times people who have a substance use disorder, their behavior is not the best. They're doing things that is out of character, and so it's a vicious cycle, and it is so sad that people are not getting the resources that they need because of the stigma.
Yes. But we want to remove that.
Yeah.
That's why we have.
That's what we talk about.
That's what we talk
and
about.
That's why people in recovery share their story and talk about it, because we can give others hope.
Absolutely. And they go, how can you talk about what you used to do, whatever, and going, because there's hope.
Yeah.
There's truly, truly hope. Like, like I said, my husband, he never thought he would be, because he was a youngster, he never thought he would be off of drugs and alcohol. He couldn't imagine life without drugs. That was normal for him. He was abandoned. He was in the streets at the age of 13 and homeless. Yeah. So he's thinking, well, this is just normal now, right? But he didn't realize his life after drugs. Mm-hmm. And that's why you have to share. We have to keep taking the stigma away and just openly talk about it. Have more Narcan trainings and have programs like this that we can share it to the world. I mean, that's my person. The more education you have, right, the more equipped you will be to identify things and stuff. So is there anything else that you want to add, Marietta, that you think we haven't covered, that maybe somebody needs to hear this?
Although we have great medications for opioid use disorder, there are some medications out there for other things like alcohol use disorder.
Yes.
So I know we didn't talk a lot about those, but there are treatments out there. There's also behavioral-based treatments that you guys, I know, do here, and many of our providers in the area do. So even though the focus was on Narcan today, that there is hope and recovery for all types of people who are experiencing substance use disorder. So.
Yes. I mean, we didn't even touch alcohol because that's a whole other topic.
But, a lot more experience with that one.
But it's still overdose prevention. We're just trying to prevent deaths. That's what we're trying to do. We want people not to die, you know? So, again, there's a lot of loved ones that have people with that struggle with alcohol. And it's like they don't know what to do anymore. So it's the same. So even though Narcan doesn't go for them, but to seek help, right? That's the whole point of this. It's like seek help. Quit being ashamed of your loved one. Just go there, because it could happen to your next door neighbor. It could happen to your friend, your sister. But it doesn't matter. It is just across the board, And one thing lastly that we didn't talk about is the teens now.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And with this legalized,
Yep, the legalization of marijuana in Missouri is probably going to lead to some negative consequences.
I don't think we've seen the effect. We haven't even started seeing the effect for a few years.
Just based on what other states have seen, that happens after it becomes recreationally available. I think we'll start seeing more calls to the Poison Control Center, kids going to the ER from getting a hold of edibles. There's just so much danger to the idea that it's not dangerous.
Yes.
That perception of risk is really important, and so if teens think, oh, it's legal now, it's not dangerous, that can increase the negative consequences. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to seeing some of those happen in our state.
This is, we'll probably see this, and of course we're ready for them, right? We're ready, we're here. We hate seeing that, but at least we're here, we're ready. And again, the biggest thing that we can say for recovery centers and all that is like we say, as soon as we start, come on in.
Yep.
Come on in. But the thing, and they've come out of sex trafficking. We have a lot of that, domestic violence,
trauma, child abuse.
Oh my goodness. Some adults have come from foster care. They've been in foster care all their lives, and they don't know how to function, but to move from home to home to home, and now they're here, and their mom or their dad, and you're like, well, I don't know what it's like to be settled. I don't know, and their coping mechanisms, their coping skills is like, it's okay. I got meth, or I got whatever, because that's what they go to, because that's what they've always gone to.
Yeah.
So but there's help and for everybody. But the biggest thing I would say, I'm sure you agree, Marietta, is when somebody's ready. Yeah. When somebody's truly ready.
Yeah, I wish I could wave a little magic wand over them or something, and be like.
Because I can't say, come on, Marietta, come with me. No. It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. They have to be ready.
They have to be ready. And and here's, like you said.
All we can do is love them till they are.
But like you said with Narcan, so what if this is the 5th round of overdose? You know what? Oh, wow. That could be the day that they wake up and goes, okay, I'm done.
Yep.
I'm done with this now. I want to get help.
Yeah.
It's the same with everybody, but they have to be able to want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have people here that go, well, why are you here? My PO sent me. The jail sent me. If I don't do this, I go to prison.
And, even that's worth it because it's planting seeds.
Exactly.
Someday it may help. help.
Oh, he
until-
switches.
Yeah. and
That's what I'm
it's-
saying. Halfway through,
Yeah.
they go, well, I came here because my PO said,
Right.
but now I really want to be here.
Exactly.
And you're like,
And that's when you see the,
Yes!
the progress, because they're invested and they see the value
Yes.
in it. Yeah.
and they say, well, maybe I do need this. You know, I'm like, well, I'm glad you're here. And they go, you know, and we see that, because we see it in graduation. We see from how they started.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's almost, you want a before and after picture. We can't do that because of HIPAA, of course,
Right.
but you, I would love to post before and after pictures because they're like a completely different person.
Yeah.
Because somebody off of drugs and alcohol, I mean, their face changes, that, you know, their complexion, everything. They look healthy. But then the biggest complaint that they tell me is, yeah, but Miss Rosie, I've gained 30 pounds. I'm going, glory to God, you've gained 30
Yeah.
pounds. You can take care of the weight later.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, at least you're healthy. You know,
That's
you go, you're a bit too healthy. But it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome to see that change. But you've got to be able to identify it when somebody says, well, maybe I should get help.
And I think that's the biggest barrier we encounter now is the availability of help when someone's ready.
Yes.
So I'm ready to get help, but I called a provider and I can't get in to see them till 6 weeks. That's not gonna
Oh,
that's not
no.
gonna work. If you know, take somebody to a facility and they're not able to help them in that moment, you've just missed the opportunity.
Yes.
And so I think it's very important that
Yes.
we work to increase that access and that immediate
Yes.
response. When somebody's ready for help, let's do everything we can to get them to it.
Absolutely. And we're seeing, and tell you what we're seeing as well, more and more pregnant women using.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we have something here. It's actually a thing from Department of Mental Health. If somebody is a veteran, if somebody is pregnant and using, or even just pregnant and, well, basically using, and or the IV user within the last 24 hours, we have to see them. Within 24 hours, we have to see them.
That's amazing.
And that is exactly what has to happen.
Yeah.
Because that IV user,
They're
it
not
could
gonna
be
last.
it could be that fentanyl that they didn't know they were doing.
Yeah.
Because they thought it was something else or something. Is that pregnant lady that we've got to give a chance to her and the child, both, you know, and they don't know. It's all this. And the veterans, we're seeing a huge amount of, I know usually it's alcohol with them, but we're seeing a lot more opioids with them, you know, and I'm like, we got to help them.
Yeah.
So anybody that comes in the door, you're like,
That's amazing.
come on in.
Because the
Come
moment
on
they
in.
need it, you're able to give it to
Yes,
them.
and that's why we have more coaches now, and we're hiring more. We're hiring two more counselors because we have to.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said, when somebody's ready, you don't want to miss that window of opportunity.
Yeah.
Because that is when they're like, I'm not saying they're like, yay, I'm here.
Right.
They don't come like that,
But
but
they're
at least
actually
they go,
considering it.
yeah, or they'll come to us and they'll say, well, I'm here, but I used this morning. I'm like, I don't care. I really don't care if you used this morning. I'm so glad you're here.
Right.
Come on, let's get you some help. Are you ready to have? Yeah, but
That's that
I'm
stigma.
yes. See,
Right
because I
there.
think, well, I thought I had to be clean like a few months before I come here. No, please don't wait that long, okay? Because it may never happen.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm just glad when they come in and they're so honest. They open up. They say, I used 2 hours ago. In fact, I've had this. I've used in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Just forgot the courage to walk in this door. And I wait, praise the Lord that you walked in the door.
Exactly.
For real. And you know, usually I give them a hug because I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
But you know, hey, sometimes people, they just need to know that somebody cares.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest part that I have found. Somebody cares about me.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
So I'm just glad that we're doing this, that we're sharing with people. So I mean, if you wanna do you know when you're gonna have another Narcan training?
I don't have
Miss
one
this
scheduled right now.
Okay.
So we'll
So
get
maybe
together and
maybe we'll schedule another one.
Yeah.
Maybe in the fall. We can
Yeah.
do it in the fall or something, so we can look out for that as well. But I do know that the Narcan training you did today, Nathan,
yeah.
our marketing guy, he's put it in on the YouTube,
Okay.
so they'll be able
So
to
they can
watch
see
the
it all the time.
whole
Yeah.
thing. Okay, so you're gonna be famous.
Oh.
You're gonna have all these autographs now, Marietta.
Yay.
But
Well,
and this is at Brookberry.
Anyone that has a recovery community center in their area, they usually do Narcan trainings much more often than I personally do them. And there's a Springfield Community Recovery Center, there's a Stone County Community Recovery Center, and they have trainings much more frequently than I do.
Good. So, is there any way that they can find this out, or is it
on their websites? Yeah,
on their websites.
Yeah.
Just go to
just
their websites.
Google Stone County Recovery Center and Springfield Recovery Community Center, and go to their website, their Facebook page.
And it's free, right?
Oh yeah,
it's
Narcan
free.
Trainings are.
So that means there's no excuse for people to know. There you go.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be having more trainings coming up and that, so I'm looking forward to having more chats to get to know, comments. But I would love to know if there's anybody out there that, you have questions for Marietta, for myself, anybody that or you have more questions about Narcan, you have more questions about anything that we've talked about, you have opinions, please share them. We need to know what to address, right? Because if we don't know, we may have missed something very valuable tonight that you're like, oh, well, you didn't touch on this subject, so we want to welcome you to add comments on there. And so I'm just thankful that I was able to have time here with Marietta. She's not just, she's from Cox Health, but she's also a friend, she's been with us in the beginning. And so if you need Narcan, again, we're in Forsyth and Branson West. You can come and get some. We've got it available for you for free, so you won't have to pay $150 or anything like that. Yeah. So, and I want to say thank you for joining. So, Marietta, do you have anything else?
I would just offer one more resource. So, as a part of my role with Cox Health, I manage the drugfreeozarks.org website. And if you are looking for Narcan resources, for a map to help you find treatment and recovery support in your area, there are some resources on there that can help.
So say that again, is
drugfreeozarks.org.
Okay, and there's a page. You have a page.
And we have social media pages as well.
Social media page as well. Okay. Yeah. And we have a page as well. It's called the Brook Wellness Center. And like I said, whenever we have training, we put it on there. And of course, we always invite our friend Marietta. So Marietta, if somebody wants to get in contact with you, what is the best way to contact you?
So probably through my work email, because this is what I do for my job. That is Marietta, Marietta.Hagan, Hagan @coxhealth.com.
Okay.
And that's what I do for my job. So I'll be able to try and point someone to the right resources.
So if somebody needs help, say I'm not sure where to go, if they reach out to you, you'll be able to put them in.
I think a great place to start is the drugfreeozarks.org.
Yeah.
And then if they are having trouble finding any resources, or if they're interested in a Narcan training or can't find Narcan in their community, they can reach out, and I'll be happy to connect them to other resources.
Okay. Yeah. And if you want to get a hold of any one of us here at the Brook at the Brook Wellness Center, we have a phone is 417-527-8877. You can email me directly, Rosie, ROSIE, at thebrookWellnessCenter.org. We have a website, thebrookWellnessCenter.org. And over there on the website, you're also going to see that we're also a 501c3, we're a nonprofit. So if you want to donate anything towards the ministry and what we do, we're a faith-based center. If you want to donate it, maybe you want to donate Bibles, because that's what we give our graduates when they graduate. Maybe you would say, you know what, I want to donate because I want to help some children or something, because not every child has Medicaid. I'm just gonna let again, there's that misconception that the children all have Medicaid. They don't, so sometimes a child comes in or an adult and they don't qualify for the different grants and different things that we have. Well, we never turn anybody away. So we want to be able to say, you know what, come on in, and we pay through our scholarship fund. So again, if you want to contact me about the scholarship fund, we take any donations from $5 to 5 million, and I can tell you how to spell million. I will help you. Yeah. So I'm so thankful. So again, if you are just joining, please rewind and start from the beginning, because we've covered amazing stories here and just sharing with you guys. So I appreciate you joining, and we will see you soon. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming, Marietta. Thank you.